Welcome to my pigsty of an office. Today that is about to change. Welcome back to Pushing Technology to the Limit. As you can see behind me, I have 3 monitors. Well, that's not all that I have behind me and in this room. I've got more than that. Today is a very interesting video about computing with 1 monitor and 4 sources. So, let me show you why my room is such a mess here. And maybe you have a messy office too, with wires and all sorts of stuff. I mean, everybody's got some sort of a mess in their office. So that's what I'm faced with, and I'm going to clean some of that up. And one of the things that's going to go is these monitors back here. And I'm going to go with 1. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's my stash of video equipment. I also do video transfers for people from VHS to DVD. And I got my test equipment here. And there's more than just that in this rack of stuff I've got that's not even for transferring information. So as I go along here, there's my phone and my TV set and my dual monitors. And here's a bunch of wires, and then you can kind of come up here and there's switches and different things like that. Over here is a whole bunch of hard drives, and I don't know if I've panned over that way before, but there's just all this stuff that I've got running. There's even more equipment past that car that's up there. You can't even see it on that shelf. So as I come into here, I mean, I'm not getting rid of any of this stuff. It's just I'm dealing with the monitors on this side of the table here. So I also have this humongous home theater TV, 40-inch HD with surround. So that's my mess. So as I go along, this video is going to be pieced together as I make advancements on my setup. I've got a big, well, you can call it small. I call it big because I'm going to be sitting in front of it. I got a big 32-inch monitor, which is basically a TV set that I'm going to transform into a computer monitor. And what it's going to do is it's going to replace all 3 of these monitors into 1. I'll be able to run 4 video sources on 1 monitor. So there will be the TV in the background and the dual screen computer system. And then I've got 1 left over for something else that I want to put into the video monitor. So tomorrow the rest of the equipment comes, but today I'm just setting up the monitor. And I got several things I want to show you, some likes and dislikes about it. I haven't really opened it up yet, so today is going to be the first day I've opened it. But even before I bought it, there were some things I didn't like about it. It was the feet. For example, I'll show you what's on my monitors here. So there's a stand right in the middle of the TV, whether it's my computer monitor or the other big 40-inch TV set that I've got. So right here is the other big 40-inch TV, and it has a stand right in the middle. Now I am able to place my speakers so that it does not block the TV set viewing. Now on the new TVs that I've looked at, they have feet on the left and the right side of the monitor, which is okay if you're going to use it as a TV, but for folks like some people like myself need the space. And as you see behind me, there's not much space to put a TV across this table. And I don't want it to take up the whole freaking table. I just want to set it up high enough so I can see it. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is I've got a stand for it that will actually mount to the TV set so I don't have to use the feet. Let me get to showing you what the TV looks like and all that. I have got the TV running and it works really good. I do have some negatives and positives about this unit, but let me show you the first negative that I really do not like, and it's the thing that I have discussed a little bit ago about the feet. Now this is why I do not like the feet on the left and right hand side of the TV set. So here's the TV set, and I've got the feet on it, which I'm not going to keep them on there. I'm going to use the brackets on the back. But if you have a smaller table than what your TV is sitting on, you can't put this TV on it. Now, if you have a foot in the middle, like these do, now you can put these on a small table, and then, the same way with this one, that the left and the right hand side of the TV set can hang off, and it still be just as stable. But this way, you can't do anything. You got to have a TV stand big enough to fit this thing on. Well, I'm going to solve that problem today with something else that I've got to take care of that problem. I have this TV stand mount, which mounts on the back of your TV set like if you were going to mount it on the wall. And I'm going to remove those feet, and it will give me that small spot that I want to put my TV set into. And I don't need to have the length of the table to get the TV set up right. So that's the next thing I'm going to do and get that thing going. But there's some things I want to talk about the TV set first. And it's the price difference is that I paid $130 for it. Now, I have paid a lot more for my Samsungs, and they do a lot different things than this TV does. But, like for instance, my Samsungs, both TVs that I've got, when the power goes off, when there's power failure, the TV set comes back on. Now that to me is nice in some ways, but for what I want to do, this TV doesn't do. So I want to put this TV set on a power strip to shut it off for the rest of my computer equipment. Well, it will shut off, and all the settings are retained in its memory somehow, but the thing will not turn back on when you throw the switch or plug it back in, or if the power comes back on. If you have a power failure, the thing stays off. Now that to me has pros and cons to it all together. I mean, you'd have to turn the TV set back on if you're watching it, but if you weren't, it just stays off. But the Samsung TV sets, when they're off, they're off. They stay off. And when they're on and the power accidentally goes out, they come right back on. But the thing that, with the Samsungs, the both sets that I've got, the speakers are built inside the TV. And what I mean by that is that the sound really doesn't escape the box. It sounds like it's stuffed in a box somewheres. This TV set has speakers on the bottom of the unit, which is the way the old TVs in the old days with the CRT TVs used to have them. Well, they didn't have them in the bottom, but they had them in the front underneath the tuning knob. Now, for those that are young enough, may not have ever had one of those kinds of TV sets that actually has a rotary knob on it. But for us old guys, we remember that stuff. So let me show you the bottom of this TV set. It is a little bit hard to see here. I had to turn on an extra light, but here are the TV speakers. This is the left side, and this is the right side. So my Samsungs, they don't even have the speakers so that you can actually get the sound out of the set. But this one does on the cheaper unit. Now the one thing I forgot to mention on this TV is that this is an old model. This is 2017 model, but it's a brand new TV. They just never sold it, that's why. But anyhow, there's the power switches, volume controls and different things on the bottom of it. I find that a little bit hard to get to, for the fact that you got to reach your hand all the way under there to get to it. Now, the clear plastic thing that you see is actually a light. Now, the nice thing about that light is that I can actually shut that off, so when the TV is in standby mode, it doesn't light up the room, which the Samsungs do not allow you to do that, which is totally stupid. Well, let me get to mounting the TV stand together on this TV, and then I'll be right back. Before I get going on installing this bracket, table mount, I wanted to show you all the screws that comes with this thing. And there's a pretty good, decent manual with it. And, well, there's some other languages in it, and that's the reason why. It's pretty thick. But there's your parts, there's the manual. So, I'm going to get started on this, and I'll be right back. I'm almost ready to mount the TV on this stand, but I gotta show you some things first. Don't sweat it like I did, because I've never mounted one of these TVs before on a wall or anything. Now let me show you some confusing things that I have ran into, and it probably took me about an hour to complete. Now it shouldn't take an hour, but the directions were so confusing. They were somewhat easy, but the first thing that was really the fastest thing to put together was the bottom of the unit, not the TV. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the back of my TV set, and they're all installed. The stupidest thing that I ever did see is that it came with a truckload of washers and a truckload of screws. And I was like, well, I don't know which ones to put in. There's this size, there's that size, and there's one size I'm like, well, I definitely know that won't fit in my TV. And if you can see, let me see if I can zoom up here. Well, I don't know if you can actually see it too well. These washers, I actually had to put 2 of them on each. So there's one that goes with that screw, and then that washer was too small for the opening, so it fell right through. So I had to use another one. So I basically had to use 8 washers instead of 4. Now, the other thing I'm kind of concerned about is this. These 2 screws actually hold the TV onto the plate. Now here is the back of the TV stand itself. Now it's all mounted and everything except for the TV. It's not on it yet. So, right here, there's absolutely no screw holes where those screws sit. They basically ride, you just tighten it down and it just sits tight on this metal bar. Now, how secure is that? I mean, it felt secure, but I'm kind of curious about, if that's a really good way, because it doesn't actually go through the plate. It just sits right on top. That, to me, looks like a dumb design. And be careful when you move your TV set once you've got this mounted, for one reason. The bottom of this thing is glass, so it could break. Now let me show you some other things, because when I looked at that box, I was sweating. I'm like, oh man, this is going to take me forever. Look at this thing. Look at the screws that are left over. I can't believe how much stuff that's left over in this bag. What do I do with all this stuff? Now see, I've used most of it in this bag here, but over here, there's all these screws, and this wire, and washers. Way more than I really need. Now what does this wire do right here? Well, the directions say that it's to mount your TV securely to the wall. Why? It's on a table. Who wants to secure their TV? I mean, are you afraid it's going to get stolen? I mean, if it falls off the table, it's going to fall off the table. And those wires aren't going to stop it from falling off the table. Now, that is useless. Now, here in this manual, this is page 4, and this is where I got stuck. Because I was like, what do I do now? So I'm looking at all this, these funny looking symbols of, you do this and you don't do that. And I'm like, what in the heck screw do I use? It's kind of hard to see here. I'm going to try out. I don't know if it comes out on the camera or not, if it's legible or not. But if you can see the right-hand picture, that is, I don't know what you want to call it, picture 3.2. Now it shows you the screws, and it says ABC. This is optional. I'm like, what in the world is that? And then on the left-hand side, it says, GHJKLMN. Now, what screws do I use? I mean, when you look at the bag, there are different letters on each pouch of that bag. Let me show you that now. Well, it's kind of hard to see here, but the first one is LM. If you can see it all right, I'm not sure. And then the other one's N, and then the other one's GH, which I used, but I didn't use all the screws because here's the rest of the stuff right here, which was mixed in with the screws that I put on this TV set here. Now, the rest of this stuff doesn't do a bit of good. I got poking around at my own other TVs that I own to see what the difference is of the mounting brackets behind those, because I don't have them mounted. Now, my 40-inch TV set had huge holes in it for screws. Now, what I'm just estimating here, I'm just, theorizing, however you want to say it, that they have screws that go to a 40-inch TV, 50-inch TVs, and so on. Why do they give you all these screws? This only holds a 24-inch to a 32-inch TV set or other sort of monitor, which is either 24 or 32, whether it's a PC monitor, etc. They put way more screws in here than they actually needed. And why put all that material in here that nobody's going to use? I have other purchases that I've made, not with TV brackets, but other different furniture items, and they put way more hardware in it than it ever needs. And they give you some crappy manual that doesn't do a bit of good for you. Now, yes, I was able to figure that out with this lousy manual, and it looks like a big manual. It has 30 pages, but there's only 4 pages that are English. So there's more waste for you. If the majority of us, even in people in other parts of the country or world, for that matter, like in European countries, speak English. So they're putting a lot of money into this that's going to be thrown out. So let me get mounting the rest of the TV and see how well it works. Well, I am sweating to death in here because I did something wrong. Let me show you something. And the manual doesn't tell you which way the brackets go. Okay, so let me show you the back of this TV set now. I've got these screws up on top where it would be easier to mount the TV set on this stand right here. Well, come to find out, it's upside down. You need these hooks right here on the top. Now, dumb directions do not tell you which way that the stupid ass thing is supposed to go. It's really frustrating. Now I gotta turn all this stuff around and get it the right way. Now, the other thing that's going to be a pain in the neck is these screws are on the bottom of the TV set, which is going to be harder to get screwed in. How dumb. Okay, so now I'm done. Now let me show you this TV set the way it ought to be mounted. Here we go. Here's the back of my TV set. Finally, I've got the thing mounted. Now, as you see, on the right-hand side of the monitor, you can see the screw is underneath the TV set. Now, this causes a problem. Why? Because some of you might have a screwdriver that's way too long to get underneath that stand to put the screw down to the plate. Mine almost didn't fit. And here you can barely see it on the left hand side that there's a screw there. Now, what a dumb design is that? I mean, you can't hardly do anything with it. I mean, it is hard to get everything together the way they had it. And also, one thing I noticed in the manual, let me show you that again. This manual doesn't even show you the picture of the TV set and which way it's supposed to go. It's just a circle that shows you how to mount the brackets on the TV. Well, we already know how to do that. I mean, show us where the freaking thing goes. Not just on the back of the TV, but arrows. Whether the hooks go up or whether the hooks go down. I mean, yeah, most of it, I mean, I had a hard time with this. And this manual was confusing for me. I mean, maybe it's better off I read it upside down like this. Here we go. Maybe that would work a little better. Maybe that now it would tell me which way the brackets go. Now I have to wash my screen because I've got so many fingerprints over it because I was trying to get it mounted. And I wasn't trying to get my fingers all over it, but it was hard to get it on this mount. Well, it's finally done, so I can just clean it now and just use the thing. And there was other parts of the installation that I almost bent the stupid brackets trying to get the stupid thing on the stand. Whew! What a deal. So, now, all I have to do is wait for my multi-viewer box to get here, and then I'll show you how that whole thing works together. Well, I had to wait quite a long time to finally get my parts in. During that time, I tested this TV out, the different things I like about it and I don't like about it. But let me show you some of the things I do like about it. And the things I like about it are a lot more than the things I don't like about it. So one thing that you need to know is that it has a loaded full of inputs. I mean, there's 3 HDMI, there's a USB port, there's composite and component. The only thing that I don't like about the composite and the component ports is the fact that you either got to use one or the other. Now, to me, it doesn't really matter because I only have composite, so that's alright with me. But if I had both component and composite, I couldn't use both of them. So I couldn't select all the ports on a TV without unplugging one of them. Let me show you the TV set now. First thing I've noticed about this TV is how much sharper the picture is, and especially like text. I do a lot of Facebooking stuff with my technology programs. I don't just do videos. I do a bunch of things with pictures and other websites. And I do a lot of research. So this TV is a multiple monitor now. And I really do enjoy this TV set. It has great color. And actually this TV set has better color than my Samsung's, which is pathetic. So I got talking to one of my friends, and they told me that this TLC branded TV is actually a really good TV set. Let me show you the back of this thing. Now, it's a little bit hard to see here, but there's a USB port. There's the audio out, which is RCA. I like that feature because I don't have to use a adapter to plug it into an amplifier. The other that you see is the 75 ohm connector for your cable TV or antenna. Now it's a little bit harder to see down here on the other parts of the TV here because it's a little bit dark. But there's the HDMI cable, and then there's 2 more ports underneath that. And on the very back is the component and composite video ports. Let me try to get a better angle here on that for you. So right here, you can either use a component or you have to use composite like I was talking about just a few minutes ago. So this is actually connected, I mean the TV is mounted on actually a bracket instead of using their flimsy TV stands that they have, which I showed you earlier how to set that up. Let me show you what my office is going to look like from now on. It's really interesting. And the other things I want to do is show you this other box I've got to use multiple computers with this TV set. Right here is my transfer equipment. There's a VCR and, well, the DVD player is just for testing, and the very top unit is just a MP3 network player. So on the left hand side here is a switch, and I can connect anything to that I want. And I also have a cable in the back for any type of camcorder, like mini DV or Super 8 tapes or what have you, the different cameras that are out there. I can convert about anything I want with this system. And in the back is some more connecting equipment to my video system for my computer. So right here is my 4-in-1 HDMI wall unit, the quad multi-viewer they call it. And then as I go along, I have another TV, which also can be a computer monitor or TV set. And then over here I'm going to be having another bigger screen with the same size as the one that you see on the left hand over here. That's going to be running some more computer monitors. Now you might wonder why I have just a keyboard and mouse with, and then I got actually dual keyboard and mice to run computers. And you might think, well, what in the heck do I have that for? Well, because of this screen and this box right here. I can run up to 4 computers simultaneously together. I do need to have a little more advanced setup to run one keyboard and mouse for the other computers that I'm going to be running. I've got this keyboard and mouse set up for a certain set of computers, and then I'll have this keyboard set up for another set of computers that will not be switched. They'll be run independently from this video mixer. Yes, if you want to call it a video mixer, I don't care what you call it, but it's that it displays 4 monitors. Now let me show you what this thing does on this TV. So here's my remote control unit. It's actually a nice size remote control. It's almost standard. I mean, it fits nicely into my hand. I have no problem with running it. I've seen a lot of other more expensive units on market that have a credit card remote. So let me show you actually the physical unit itself in more of up close detail of this multi-mixer box. So right here is that box. It has absolutely it has the manual buttons on the front. I don't really use that. I use the remote control solely for selecting things. I only use those buttons if I lost the remote, which is doubtful that I ever will. There is no power button on this, like some of the more expensive units I've seen, because I just need to leave it on because of my type of setup I have. And one thing that's nice about this box is it's all metal. You can hear it. It sounds metal. It's kind of a tight spot here because I got so many cables coming in and out. It's just a temporary setup right now, but there's the back of the unit. And the one thing I liked about this quad viewer was that it had 12 volts DC. Now if you're wondering why I'm making such a big issue about 12 volts DC, because I have a lot of equipment that has 12 volt DC power supplies. And I've had a lot of other 12 volt equipment that have come and gone, but I've always kept the power supply kicking around just in case if I need it. Now a lot of the other, whether it's computer equipment or just AV equipment, is starting to run, and I'm not saying every single manufacturer out there is doing this, but a lot of stuff I've been seeing have been 5 volts. Now I don't have as much 5-volt power supplies as I do with 12. So back before I started doing 5-volt stuff, 12 was standard, and I say that 12 volts DC is still standard. But now some of these other manufacturers are just monkeying around with 5 volts. And the things that I noticed about the 5-volt equipment is that they actually take a bigger power supply than the 12-volt equipment. I don't understand that really, but they just do. So let me show you what this box does so I don't have to keep you wondering what I'm going to do next. But let me show you that now. And I'm going to film the actual TV, what it's doing. On this remote control here, I've got left and right arrows. I've got, this thing is absolutely nothing. This unit, this button right here, if you can see it, it switches between 10x80p and 720p, which I really don't know what the difference is. I haven't seen really any difference with that. So down here on the remote control is a little selector thing. You can do 1, 2, 3, well 3 and 4. Then you got your audio mode selector, and then you got your 4 view selector. So you can just hit that. Let's see here. And then it switches everything to 4 pictures. So up here at the top it says no signal, check the signal. But right here's one of my computers, another computer, my VCR, and then my other computer I've got, which is off. And then I can actually just switch, so I can take this remote control and start selecting different sources. So I can go source 1, and it's just displaying the monitor that I had. Number 2, wait a minute, now let's see here. Number 2 is absolutely nothing because it's not on. I actually hit the third one by accident. So this is number 3 right here, and that's a whole nother computer. And then number 4 is my VCR, which I've got connected through the HDMI. I'm not going to go into how that's all set up, but it's not an HDMI VCR. I've got something to get it into HDMI. So the other thing you can do is with your mode button here, you got 5 different modes that you can do. Let's see here. So let me get back to my first screen because that's where I normally start out. So you can select, I don't really care for this feature really. I mean, you can select different sources with this mode button, which I don't really care because why do they need that? So then I just can keep going and keep selecting it that way. But then now it selects, you know, all 4 screens, or I can tell it to, you know, so it puts, you know, 1 on the left, 2 in the middle, and 1 on the side, which is alright. I don't care for that too much really, but there's other modes I like better. Now this one's a little bit bigger. So now it gives you 3 screens on the right hand side and 1 big one over here. So that would be input 2. So now here's input 3, and then you got your other 3 little monitors over here. Then I can just keep going, and so then it puts number 4 up on the screen. So then it gives you all these down here on the right hand side. This one I actually like. This setting I'll use because I can actually plug my dual monitor in if I was going to use one TV as a dual monitor. That way I wouldn't have to have 2 monitors sitting on my table. So I've actually done that. I've ran 2 monitors at once on 1 TV set. So it just keeps going until you get back to source 1. There's one thing that's I like and I dislike about it is the fact that the screens you cannot customize as far as, you know, if you want a different size. There's certain things I wish I could customize. Now, even the more expensive units that I have not tried, but they do not have the feature either. What I would have liked to have done is be able to set my screen size to whatever size I wanted. And so say like I want to split my screen, but I want one a certain size, number two a certain size, and so on and so forth. But they don't allow you to do that. And there's some other things that I like with this, but don't like the fact that the computers, when they're in a full, when it's in a not really full, but it's a multi view, you can't really see the text too well. Now let me show you what I mean by the dual monitor setup on one TV. And the reason why I'm not too keen on running it at a smaller screen is because, like I've said previously, is that it's hard to see all the text, especially when you want to get into My Computer. Let me show you what I mean by that now. So here's the first monitor. And I'm going to switch over to the second monitor. You'll see that it'll still display fine on one screen. Here's some files that I've got on my secondary screen. It's a video project that I'm doing, and it has a spacer and different things. So let me show you what the dual screen looks like on one TV. Here's the computer with the dual monitor setup. Now this is what I don't get, is the fact that the quality is better on the right hand side than it is on the left. And there's something to do with the video card, and you might think that HD is so wonderful, and it's not the TV set. It's something to do with the computer, and I don't know what it is about that video card, but one side puts out better video than the other side. I have no clue. But besides that, I mean, this is workable. I mean, I actually can see the text on the right hand side. I'm not sure if you can see it too well, but it's a little bit more squashed than when it is in full frame, which is when it goes across the whole entire TV. And I like that, alright. There's some things that I don't really care for the big screen TV, and that is the fact when I do web designing, it makes everything look too, I don't know, what do I want to say, strung out. It just makes it look too funny looking. So what I'm going to do with this monitor, once I get everything set up, is I'm going to use this for my designing monitor, so I won't need to have it that much, just at certain times when I'm going to do web page designing. After a whole week of rewiring and configuring all of my equipment, I am now ready for the 21st century. Now, you might be wondering, well, haven't you already been in the 21st century? Yes, I have, but I have now the latest equipment set up for transferring videos. Let me show you what I did to my office. Here I have my scanner to scan whatever I need to scan, whether it's slides or other documents. And as I come up here, I actually took down my studio speakers and went with a home theater system. I bought this at a reused shop for about 45 bucks, so it's not bad. Sounds great, and not much really has changed on the table really, except for that I've got these huge monitors. Now if you're wondering why I got 3 of them, and yes, earlier in the video I talked about reducing my monitors down to 1. But after doing so, I have found out that I need actually 2 or 3 monitors, really. So let me explain what is going on here. So the first TV that I installed holds up to 4 screens. Now you can see that it's in like the window mode where it displays 4. Now on this screen there's only 2 inputs that are actually running. One says check TX input signal because the computer is not running at the present. Then on the bottom screen there's 2 more inputs which you cannot actually see any video because there's nothing running or even plugged in. Now over here on this small screen, if you're wondering why I have a duplicate screen from either over here and over here, it's for one reason. So I can actually monitor all these computers at once, whatever it is that I may have plugged in, and I can still operate on a full screen in this one over here. Now on my right hand side, I have another big 32-inch TV, and it has 3 videos showing, because the fourth one is not hooked up just yet. So you can see that it says check TX on 2 windows, meaning that the HDMI equipment is running, but there's no video source. So they're all selectable, and like I've shown in previously in earlier in this video. So if I go up to my shelves here, you can see I've gotten rid of those studio speakers. Now there was actually a problem with those studio speakers. Not that there was a problem with the speaker itself, but the way I had things set up. So over here, I can actually, I got a transfer system set up, which used to be over on this table, which is no longer there, and I removed that other table that was making a mess. So here is the same exact equipment, except now I got a tape deck installed, and I'm going to be transferring VHS tapes, cassette tapes, and 8mm and Super 8 films to DVD, or any digital source for that matter. And down here is my networking. And when we come over here, this hasn't changed at all. I just left it, except that I put my filing cabinet and my printer over here. Now behind these TVs, I have actually did a lot of cleaning. I had a lot of equipment hanging off this one shelf to save some table space. But I would like to show you what I did with all that equipment. Here I am. I'm underneath my table, and I'm ready to show you what I did to the bottom of my table. So what I did is I put a huge piece of metal tape. Now you can get this tape anywheres at plumbing stores like Lowe's or Heps or what have you. So what I've done now is all of my video equipment, I've just zip tied it to this plumbing tape. And so instead of having it all dangling up on top of my table, making a mess out of everything, now it's just all, well, you can say it's neatly run, but it still looks kind of messy, but heck, what else are you going to do with all of it? I've ran it as neatly as possible as I could. So there's the HDMI extenders, there's receivers and senders, there's other video equipment here, and that's what makes all of these monitors up on the table work. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do with this setup now, is just be able to run multiple computers on one TV set. And I got the TV for multiple reasons, because I want to use it as a TV and my computer monitor. So it's basically an all-in-one system. And just to get this thing going, it wasn't bad. You know, if your computer is equipped with HDMI, then you're all set. But if you don't have enough HDMI ports on it, then you're going to have to get some adapters to make it HDMI. Which I go into other videos on that with, like HD Repackaged and HD Everywhere. So check out those videos if you want to know more about the adapters. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you the next time on Pushing Technology, and I'll talk to you later.